Hello, 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 Mosaic Souls. This is Rachel Alexander, and welcome back to Divine Earth School, the place where high achievers and spiritual seekers come to embody, embrace, and explore their divinity. I'm super excited to be talking about this topic. Turn that off. Make sure that. Okay. So today I wanted to talk about your energy, right? So in this video, I'm going to share with you about the power of your energy and how you can not only tap into it, but access more of your power. So if you're ready to become more spiritually aware and more emotionally aware, then you're gonna want to tune into this video. So I'm super excited to talk about this topic because it's been on my mind literally for the past few weeks, and all of a sudden today, after doing my own inner work, I just felt compelled to come on here live, and it's actually a Saturday. So I decided to turn on the camera and come on here live. I wanted to share about energy and the power of your energy. So how I want to tackle this topic is, first, you know me, I always love to give it a definition of things before we dive into the main content. So what is energy, right? So according to the internets, when I Googled what is energy, I got this definition. Energy is a fundamental concept in physics and refers to the capacity of a system to perform or produce a change. It exists in various forms, including kinetic energy, energy of motion, potential energy, stored energy, thermal energy, which is energy associated with heat, chemical energy, which is energy stored in chemical bonds, and electromagnetic energy, which we are made up of, is energy carried by electromagnetic waves, right? So in broader terms, energy can also refer to vitality, vigor, or power exerted to accomplish tasks or sustain life processes in biological systems, right? So when you think about the concept of energy, really, it's really this ability to tune in, and it's really the energy, it's really the life essence that makes up all of this sort of 3D reality that we're existing in, right? And so I really wanted to talk about this because the reason why I wanted to talk about this is I really wanted to direct this towards my empaths, but also even if you don't identify as an empath, you'll gain knowledgeable information from this video. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because it's something that I didn't really know that was that powerful until years ago, about the power of energy and the power that specifically empaths have. And we sort of have an advantage, a known advantage in our energetic existence, right? So let's talk about what our energy body is. If we know that it's essentially the life essence that animates our bodies, it's the essential life essence that animates all matter on this planet, right? Including animals, trees, plants, life, just the life essence, the life force behind everything, right? One of the things that we experience in our energy bodies, which we have energy bodies, we have our physical body, but we also are existent as an energetic body as well, right? So even if you just kind of study people who pass away, they even have sort of a measure or a weight thing where people who pass away, they're like, I can't remember the exact percentage, but it's like they're like, let's say an ounce, I don't know what, look it up, Google, but there's like they are actually an ounce lighter when the person passes away versus when they're alive. And to me, that sort of represents sort of like the lightness of our energetic body, our spirit, our soul, whatever you want to call it. But we have an energetic body that animates this fleshly earth suit that we all exist in, right? So what are the aspects that are making up our energetic bodies? And in various different spiritual modalities and ancient systems of medicine and things of that nature, it is called the aura, right? Which is essentially the part of us that is, how do you express it? That is sort of like this electromagnetic field that surrounds and permeates our bodies, our physical bodies, right? So it's really how we experience it is through the four main components, which I'll talk about in a second. But our aura is sort of that electromagnetic field that we're always pulsing out, right? And it actually, people who can see auras can see different colors and frequencies within the aura, and they are thought to correspond to different aspects of our health and our consciousness, right? So that's one aspect of the energetic body. Another aspect, which is taught in sort of Indian and Chinese, as well as Egyptian, ancient times, is known as meridians, also known as chakras, which is also basically like these sort of portals along, not only along our spine, but it's also energy centers, right, along different various points of our bodies, right? And they act as pathways through which vital energy or life force or chi, whatever you want to call it, flows through our body, right? So these meridians or portals connect to various organs and systems, and they're usually associated with like the chakras are usually associated with different energy portals and stuff in our bodies, right? And so various physiological and psychological functions that help us to maintain health is associated with these chakras or meridian points, or gateways. They're also known as gateways, various different names for the same situation. But so those are sort of like what is made up of our energetic bodies. Our energetic bodies are made up of sort of portals or portals along our bodies, as well as our aura, which is sort of this electromagnetic field that we're always pulsing out around us, right? And so the power of energy, right? What is the power of energy? Is one of the things that in our sort of modern day society that we're slowly waking up as a society to, is the power of energy. You know, in sort of maybe 20 to 30 years ago, very much so, what was predominant in our society was the importance of the intellectual energy that you exuded, right? Especially most of us being sort of indoctrinated into this colonialistic society where your intellect is more important than other aspects of your energetic frequency, right? And what we're now starting to finally be more widely known is the fact that our energetic bodies, our emotional energy, our physiological energy, our spiritual energy, which are the four sort of main components of how we experience our energy: mental energy, physical energy, emotional energy, and spiritual energy, is actually more important than just the intellectual energy that you have, right? So this sort of war on who's the smartest, or, you know, because we're living in the Aquarian age, and so knowledge is more widespread and you can literally Google anything at the tip of your fingers. I think because it's become more widespread, we're starting to be able to see the importance of emotional energy, right? And the importance of tapping into your spiritual energy. And this is something that I didn't really even know in my own life, that it was something that as a self-identified empath, that I naturally actually have a gift for, right? So I'm going to talk about the power of your energy and tuning into that. And then I'm going to talk about empaths and energy and one of the benefits of being an empath, as well as share an exercise with you if you self-identify as an empath, to help you along your journey, right? So let's talk about what the power of your energy. When we are so sort of coming out of this indoctrination and we start to re-indoctrinate or sort of parent ourselves into a more holistic view of energy and how we experience it, then we start to see ourselves as a more holistic being rather than just a thinking being, right? You think one of the reasons why I'm talking about this is man has a tendency to think of themselves as higher than, right? And I think this sort of colonialistic view of seeing energy, or seeing yourself as a specific type, as an animal that's higher than the other animals, has created a lot of what I talked about in my last video, which I'll link above or link below, which is, this sort of imbalanced value system that we have going on, right? And so when we bring back into balance and bring back into our holistic way of seeing and thinking and feeling and sensing, I think we start to see ourselves and experience ourselves in a more holistic view and a holistic way. Right. Yeah, exactly. Welcome to this live. Yeah. So that's very true, right? Illness, right? When we become ill, right, we sort of neglect aspects of our energy. And so I want to go back to that part about sort of the colonialistic part of it, right? And so now that we're coming out of this sort of predominant mental energy, like how much mental energy you can serve or like create and how much knowledge that you can acquire, and seeing ourselves as greater than other entities like the plant life in that we're surrounded by that sustains our life, or the animal life that we're cohabitating with, right? When we start to see ourselves not as more than, but we start to see ourselves as connected to all these other entities, then I think we start to move more into a holistic view of our energy, right? And start to see the power of our energy and how that influences not only our day-to-day lives, but how we are seriously connected, right? So even if you just, study psychic abilities, and I don't want to dive down too deep into that rabbit hole because that's a whole nother video topic. But even if you just study just the basics of psychic abilities, like think of someone that you are that is a loved one and you connect with, and then maybe they, text you or send you a phone, call you, and all of a sudden, that's so funny. I was literally just thinking about you. Why does that happen? Because we're all energetically connected, right? We're all aspects, fractals of source, whatever you want to call it. And so we're all interdependent, intermingled, whatever, right? And so that's really the power of your energy, is recognizing that not only are we connected, right, but we as energetic beings have the power to stand powerfully in our energy. And when we do the healing work, when we do the things that we need to do to maintain a level of healthy energy in our mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual bodies, then we start to experience our world in a more holistic way and feel more in tune with the world around us, plant life, animal life, but also us as human beings, right? And so we feel more connected, right? And I almost feel like, this sort of colonialistic thing, that was sort of the thing that we signed up for. But now that we're moving back into more holistic way of living, we're starting to be able to see the interdependence and I don't know what word I'm looking for, but the connectedness that we all have, right? And that we can not only influence our each other, right? But influence the world at large. There's several studies about, people just getting together and praying, right? And getting together and I started my own little prayer circle within my own family unit, but there's the power in bringing together intention and setting intention, and the power of using the mental and emotional energy, our mental and emotional bodies and our sensory bodies, our physical bodies, to put out an intention, right? That's why, like, your spells, you're always casting spells with your words. What you say and what you think, you're casting spells, right? And so when we get together and cast spells, pray, whatever you want to call it, it's the same thing. We actually can influence the world at large, right? And so that's how powerful we are. Like, even if by yourself as an energetic entity, you have, your spiritual family, your ancestors, but you also have angels and guides, spiritual guides, right? You have angels, and then you have spirit guides and stuff. So we're always connected to not only the physical beings around us, but we're connected to the spiritual beings, because we are essentially spiritual beings, right? And so this whole little ounce that leaves the body, what that essence is who we truly are. So we're playing this sort of 3D game, and which is perfectly fine. That's what we came here for. But once we start to tap back into the wisdom that we're not just made up of our minds, and our minds, even though as brilliant as they are and as brilliant as knowledge and knowing things is, not having access to the emotional and physical and spiritual bodies is what's bringing us out of balance, right? So we really have to start to tap back into those other three bodies, not just, we spend the first 12 years, what is it? The first 18 years we're indoctrinated into a society, and we spend 12 years of our lives in school to beef up our mental energy, right? But the other three energies are completely neglected, right? The physical, the emotional, and the spiritual energies are completely neglected, right? And so one of the things that, I want to do here with Divine Earth School is to help us not only give you a map to start to strengthen those other energetic bodies, but start to live more as a holistic being while you're on this divine earth, right? So that we're more in tune with the earth around us, the plant life, the animal life, and us as human beings, but we feel more connected to ourselves, right? So that's the power of energy, right? So now I want to talk about like the empaths and energy, right? So as an empath, you may have an advantage of sensing your energy and utilizing it because you are very in tune with your sensory perceptions and your sensation clair, or what's known as clairsentience, right? So one of the things that I always kind of struggled with, I remember in my adolescence into my early to mid 20s, was being an empath and sensing other people's emotions. And it before a friend of mine introduced me to some tools that I'm going to share with you in this video, I felt very overwhelmed, right? But through my own sort of research and understanding of being an empath and being a person who has strong clairsentience and being able to tap into other people's energy or just feel other people's emotional bodies is what essentially I think an empath is where you can and sense other people's not only emotional energy, but sometimes you can sense someone else's physical energy. Because one of the things I also noticed in my other past relationships is sometimes, especially if I was with that person for a long time, but in general, like people that I loved or people that were around me, they could even just talk about something and I would sense what they were experiencing. So let's say they had pain in their shoulder or something like that, and immediately my body would pick up on the energy that they were experiencing it. So it's kind of like this physiological and emotional energetic exchange or energetic highway that's kind of going on between all of us, right? And so when you're an empath, it's like that sensory perception is heightened, right? And you can tune in and tap into that way more than maybe another person who might not identify as an empath, right? And so because I had that ability, I felt like I was walking around like a crazy person because I didn't know that this was going on. Like I was experiencing so many highs and lows and highs and lows. And so I really enjoyed being by myself a lot of the times. I still do for the most part, as a self-proclaimed loner for the most part, is because I was so in tune with other people's energy and I didn't know how to control it and I didn't know how to not take on other people's energy, right? And so it felt like it was this thing that was attacking me all the time because people, as human beings, we have thoughts always going, we have emotions always going on. Most of the time, because we don't have these skill sets or these tools to navigate our energetic bodies, we're just flying around, walking around with all these repressed emotions, dark thoughts that we haven't waded through, subconscious beliefs that are just flying out everywhere, right? So these thought forms are energetic, like energetic bodies or energetic entities that are just flying around everywhere. Our emotions are like energetic entities that are housed within us, within our own electromagnetic field, right? And so most of the time, most of us are not tapped into the fact that we have an emotional body or that we have mental thought forms or beliefs that are like wedged into different aspects of our bodies, right? And so as an empath, I would pick up on other people's stuff, right? Because I have very strong discernment or whatever. And I would say I inherited that from my mother's side of the family because my grandmother and my mother are very good people of like a judge of characters, right? When you meet someone, you can immediately sense their energy, or sense their intentions, right? And so like I would meet, let's say, a person who had ill intentions, or not necessarily even ill intentions, but their energy was dark energy, or they had a lot of shadow that they haven't dealt with, right? And maybe let's say that they're like very smiley and hi and very upbeat or whatever, but because I'm an empath, I can sense that other dark aspect of themselves that they haven't tapped into, or that they haven't recognized, or that they haven't healed. And so my judge of character would be, I could pick it up literally, in a sense, in like a moment's notice, really. And so I think that's one of the benefits that's one of two, there's many benefits of being an empath, but it took me a long time to start to notice this, because I didn't have the tool that I'm going to share with you in a second, right? So the unknown benefit that I found is that we have a tendency to, you can have, especially when you're tuned into your empathic abilities, is to tune into other people's energy, but also be a judge of character more readily, because you can pick up other people's energetic bodies that they might not have even done work on, right? And it's not necessarily that you're prying into, but because we're these electromagnetic pulsing out auras all the time, like our energy is just out and about, right? It's just open for the taking. One of the good sort of movies that had a really good visual on that was that movie called Lucy, where she like eventually like disapparates from her body and goes out into all the, like, you see her in the moment where she's starting to see energy everywhere, and that moment before she like disapparates from her bodies and joins the rest of cosmos and stuff like that, right? Before she becomes focused in a body, she comes out of being in a human body and moves into the energetic, amalgamation of this universe that we live in, right? And so that's a really good sort of photo or like visual of sort of what we experience as energetic beings that we're just not tuned into or tapped into, because we're not taught these things, right? So that's one of the benefits, is having really good discernment as an empath. That doesn't, not necessarily everyone has that. It's only if you're tuned in and can like start to utilize your empathic abilities, rather than like how I was for like a majority of my life, where I felt like I was a victim of empathy, right? Until I got control of it during my spiritual awakening and stuff like that. But you can feel like a victim as an empath, because you're just bombarded with everyone's energy until you start to learn to control it, right? So discernment. But another aspect of being an empath that is actually a benefit is being an innate energy healer, because we're used to feeling other people's energy. So invariably, we really have a tendency to take on other people's energy, usually emotions or thoughts that they haven't processed, and we actually process it for them, right? So this can be a double-edged sword, right? It's a good in a sense that it helps others and keeps the world in a balanced place. And I find that a lot of people who are considered sort of black sheep of the family, or people who are, sort of the people who are super sensitive, or the people who are taking on these generational curses or generational patterns and they're breaking them. If you're that person in your family, I find that this aspect of you is something that you've been doing for your family that you didn't even know that you were doing, right? So usually empaths, or people who are sort of that person in their family, are like the energy healers for their family, right? So that it's a good thing in that sense, but it's sort of not necessarily a negative thing, but I would say a challenging thing, in the sense that you don't know that you're doing this unless you find out through years of study, or through someone telling you that, hey, you have the ability to heal your ancestral line, to heal your familial line, you're an energy healer. You have the ability to take on other people's energy, process it, heal it, return to sender, or you can return it to sender, but and like sort of transmute that energy and put it back out into the universe, right? And so as an empath, that can be another benefit. So that's the second benefit, I would say, of being an empath, is that we're energy healers, right? Innately. And not all of us can do this. I don't want to make a blanket statement, because I can't say how every empath experiences energy. I can only speak from my personal experience and from other people that I've talked to who are similar to me. But people who are empaths, we usually are those type of people who take on other people's energy and we process it for them. And so that was really one of the reasons why I wanted to bring up the power of energy, is because one of the hugest currencies on our planet, right, is money, and money is a form of energy. But we don't realize how important, especially as an empath, or even if you're not an empath, but you're some other type of energy healer, how important that is, right? Being able to heal someone from mental or emotional turmoil is so powerful, right? And it's almost like there is not really a dollar amount that you can really put on it. It's priceless because it's what's keeping our planet sane and people from breaking out into complete anarchy and going crazy on our planet, right? or even as like an energy healer in your family, right? If you're that individual, unique individual who is the black sheep of the family, or the person who was into tarot or astrology when you're a kid, or you're really into nature, or whatever your thing is when you're little, and you were always intense, could feel emotions intensely, right? And you liked to be alone, or you're a loner, or whatever way you want to identify it as, is that we're naturally unconsciously doing this work for our family. And I remember having a really good conversation with one of my girlfriends about this actually a while ago, and I was like, yo, we are over here healing our ancestors, girl. Like, we are over here healing like stuff that our family, like our mother's mother couldn't heal, right? So like only like what 3-4 mothers ago, melanated people in America were doing the whole slavery thing, and then maybe 10 mothers ago we were back in, you know, nature, and who knows what other atrocities that we were feeling, right? Let me tune in. I'll come back to you in a second. Let me finish this up. But we were tuning into all these different aspects of ourselves, right? We're tuning into all these different aspects of our lineage, tuning into different aspects of, you know, our family and stuff. And as someone who starts to tune into the fact that we have these different energetic bodies, we can then, and this is voluntary, you don't necessarily have to do this, but it does help you sort of break free from the sort of generational pattern, or I don't like to call it curse, but whatever, it's a curse, a generational curse, like anything where it's like, you know, people like your family has taken a vow of poverty, or a vow of, you know, bad relationships, or, you know, obesity, or whatever. There could be various different patterns that different family units have, right? And as an energy healer in your family, as someone who becomes more energetically aware of how powerful you are, you have the ability to tap into that and start to heal that, right? So I wanted to share with you an exercise for empaths real quick. So if you're someone who, you know, experiences heavy energy, or you feel bombarded by other people's energy, or sometimes you just feel like, why am I going crazy? This doesn't even feel like my energy. I'm just picking up other people's energy. Or you find that you like to be in nature a lot, because nature has a healing effect of like sort of calming these other energies down. This is a technique a friend shared with me years ago. And it's just a simple visualization technique that really helped me to not feel like a crazy person when I'm around other people. Now I can be around a whole, like, all types of different types of people and not pick up their energy, because I've learned not to necessarily shut off my empathy, but I've learned to, I guess you could say, like, dial it down, kind of like a knob on a radio station. I can, a volume, right? I can turn it up or turn it down, right? And so this technique kind of helps you do that. So what I want you to do is to simply close your eyes for a second, and breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth. Breathe in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth. One more time. Breathe in through your nose and let it out through your mouth. And what I want you to do is to imagine yourself being enveloped by an actual diamond, that your entire body, your aura, your meridians, your chakras, all aspects of you is being embodied into a diamond shape, but an actual diamond, right? Or you can imagine yourself being armored with diamonds. So like you're in diamond, or it could be gold plated, whatever. It could be, you know, steel armor, whatever resonates with you. I like diamonds for some reason, but you can imagine diamond or gold. I always like gold as well. Gold plated armor, right? So whenever you're feeling too overwhelmed by other people's energy, just simply imagine yourself sitting in this diamond crystal like impenetrable energetic space where other people's energy can't penetrate and your energy is protected within it, right? And as you do that, you have free reign. When you feel complete in your visualization, you feel more free to go about in the world without feeling like other people's energy will attack you, right? And so I used to visualize that a lot when I was in sort of my early to mid 20s, when I was coming into deepening into my spiritual awakening and starting to learn to control more of this empathic ability that I had, right? And so just starting to do that, visualize yourself. And it's not necessarily that you want to shut yourself off from the world, but when you're an empath and you're receiving all this energetic information, because we live in this energetic highway of information that's always readily available to us, and because you're super tapped in, like your dial is all the way up to 100, it helps you to get control of that dial and tune it down so you can turn it up and turn it down when you want to, rather than being like, you know, sort of like when you think or see those movies about, you know, witches who first get their powers, right? And they're like going all over the place, like their power's out of control, right? And I feel like that's what empaths are. Like you have this power, but you don't know how to control it yet. So it's out of control and you feel overwhelmed and you're like, oh my God, what's going on? You know? And so just doing that visualization will help you start to tune back into yourself and recognize that you're not a victim at all. It's actually a gift. And you can utilize it in many various different forms. And maybe I'll come on here and do another video about the various different abilities and powers that empaths specifically have. But yeah, that's the simple exercise. Hopefully that was helpful. Let me know in the comments below or the chat if that is helpful for my empaths. And let me answer your question, Mr. Sati. I don't know if you're... How do we teach ourselves to expect miracles? I love that question. It's a juicy question. I feel like it's sort of reconditioning, right? Because we're, like I said in the beginning of the video, most of us are indoctrinated into a society. We're spent the first 18 years of our lives indoctrinated into the society of you go to school, you go to college, you get a degree, that's usually the plan, especially if you're over here in America or you're in westernized societies that have that sort of as the plan, right? And there's nothing wrong with that plan. Many of us have signed up for that plan. It is what it is. But it's lacking in a lot of what I was talking about. And that is recognizing how powerful you truly are, right? So as a divine being, as an energetic being, right? We have access to powers within us that we're not tapping into simply because we weren't taught them, right? And so to start to educate yourself on these things, right? I would say one, but also re-indoctrinate within yourself, re-indoctrinate your mind, your mental body, your mental energy, re-indoctrinate your emotional body, and re-indoctrinate your spiritual and physiological body, right? Your sensation, because your body sort of reacts to trauma or triggers or thought processes or belief systems, right? Like, let's say, you know, one of the things I find that most people are triggered by is usually their parents, whether their parents were positive role models or negative role models in their lives. We're usually triggered by the people who raised us, right? Whether or not you have a positive or a negative relationship with them or not. And so that system, their system of beliefs have been indoctrinated into your subconscious mind, right? And so it's really about starting to reprogram yourself to expect miracles. Is about recognizing that miracles are like every day. It's sort of like if you can start to, just as you wake up and you go outside and there's no clouds in the sky and you see, oh, the sky is so blue and the sun is so bright, right? And you just expect that when you walk outside and you see the sky, it's going to be blue, right? For it to become that sort of natural expectation, right, is when you start to reprogram yourself to being like, miracles happen all the time. Right? The things that we call miracles are just coincidences or manifestations of our energetic output that we're putting out, right? So if you've been programmed to experience lack or to experience disease or to experience, unhealthy communication or to experience sort of unhealthy relationships and stuff in any form or fashion, in your life, then that's your modus operandi. That's your current operating system, right? So if you were to upgrade your computer, let's say you need a new computer or you need to upgrade your system, right? You go through the process, you click around, click, need to uninstall old software or reinstall new software, and then the whole computer does this reboot system. Then you have to restart the computer and it starts up with this new operating system, right? It's no different from us as a human being. Another sort of visual that I'm getting is, Neo from the Matrix or whatever, the whole Matrix series, right? We're all indoctrinated into the society. And so your job as you're waking up, as you're starting to embody more of your divinity, is start to re-indoctrinate yourself into a completely new way of being, which is that you're innately sovereign, you're innately divine, and you have these abilities to manifest more of what you desire by tapping into your energetic bodies, by tapping into the power of the energy that you're pulsating on a day-to-day basis. Most of us are not in tune with our emotional bodies. We're not in tune with our physiological bodies. We're not in tune with our spiritual bodies. And so we feel cut off. We're becoming more aware of our thoughts, right? Where you can be like, oh, I just thought that negative thought, or, ooh, I just had this dark thought about this, or, ooh, I just felt jealousy. When you can start to label your emotions that way, or you can start to label your thoughts, right? And versus you seeing them as, this is who I am. Because most of humanity, I feel like, is slowly coming out of this, but they exist in sort of this modality where they're like, I am my thoughts, I am my emotions, I am my belief systems, right? Which is why we have war and all this greed and stuff going on the planet, is because people are so heavily identified with their humanity to such a degree that they're willing to kill other people and steal and pillage and do all this other crazy stuff to the planet. Into other societies and things, because they're so identified with their humanity. And so one of the things about having a spiritual awakening and being on the spiritual path is recognizing that you're more than just this human entity, right? You're more than just this human body. And when you recognize that and you start tapping into these essential bodies that I just talked about, you start tapping more into your power. Like, oh, well, damn, if I ain't just human, then what am I? What is I, right? And you start contemplating that more on a day-to-day basis. And that becomes your new modus operandi. And so you're no longer living from this place of, oh, I'm just a small little human with these small little beliefs, and this is all I can do or think or be or have or whatever. And so you stop operating from the little you and start moving into the expanded version of yourself, right? And part of that is expecting miracles, expecting what you desire to come about more powerfully. Like, you start standing more in your sovereignty, you start standing more from your place of power, because you are the divine creator of your reality, right? You start like, yeah, of course I'm gonna get that. Why? Because I said so. But it's not from a place of ego, and it's not from a place of, I have to have this or my life will be over. It's not from that place, but it's from a place of sort of like quiet confidence, like, I know who I am, you know what I mean? And so that's the long-winded answer to to how to how to teach yourself to start to expect miracles. It's really taking whatever spiritual awareness that you have and hiking that up to like level 10, right? Doing the spiritual work so that you become more vastly aware of who you are on an energetic level, right? And for me, I'm the queen of simplicity. I like simple things. I don't necessarily like to dive in complexity unless it's like a soul urge, like, ooh, I want to dive into this. But just utilizing spiritual tools like meditation, nature, connecting with your body in a deeper way, yoga, physical movement, and connecting with your body through foods and connecting to plant life and nature, and just being out, for me, is my gateway. There's many gateways to, deepening your spiritual awakening, but those are the tools that work for me. And so I think I'm complete with today's live. I hope this has been helpful. Let me know in the comments below if you resonated with today's message. I look forward to hearing from you, and let me know, what one way in which you've seen the power of your energy be like created in your life, where maybe you had a thought or an emotional sensation and instantly you saw and it doesn't necessarily be instant, but between 1 to 3 months you saw your manifestation take place, right? And once you start to recognize these little things, right, you'll start to be like, oh, damn, I created that. And when you start to see that, you're like, okay, I am powerful, right? And so I'd love to hear one of your sort of manifestation stories if you feel so inclined to share in the comments below. And as always, flow with what feels good and let go of what doesn't, because you are divine. You are a divine being, and your soul knows exactly what you've come to explore and experience while on this planet. So remember, what you conceive is what you receive, what you expect is what you'll get, and however you feel is what will become real for you. As always, if you're looking for more deeper help in creating your divine life, then visit us at divineearthschool.com/call to book your complimentary call, and visit us at divineearthschool.com/classes to check out more of our classes. I'm looking forward to doing more classes like that. I'm going to be actually bringing my mom on. She's an actual physician's assistant, and start having her do her health and wellness classes and stuff like that on this channel, and more specifically on Divine Earth School. So definitely check out the resources and all that stuff in the links below. And I look forward to continuing to serve you guys, and to continuing to hopefully start to be more of a resource for those of you who are on this spiritual journey. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And